Now let's add a few other pistons and pieces to our landing gear. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing that I want to add is just a few cylinders in here. So I'm going to drop in a quick cylinder. I want to change the orientation of the cylinder. So I'll go to Object, and I want it to be in the Z direction. All right, and then we can go ahead and take down the different values here, and I want to just drop it into this opening. Okay, so something like that. Okay, let's go to the caps. I'll turn on fillet. I want to take the number of segments down, take the radius down a little bit. Okay, so something like that. Let's sharpen it up just a little bit and then shrink it down a bit. Okay, I'll go ahead and control drag this to duplicate it and bring it up to the front here. And then for this one, I want to actually just kind of lengthen it and decrease the scale of it a bit. Okay, let's duplicate this again. And this one, I want to go ahead and change the orientation back to Y. I want to sharpen up the ends. So going into cap, reducing the radius. Give it a couple more segments. And then let's increase the overall radius of it. Okay. And then let's duplicate this. And on this one, I'll move down, decrease the radius, so it's sitting inside of it. Okay, and let's go ahead and take both of these, group them together, and we'll just call this piston. And then let's move it up into position here on the side. And we'll kind of rotate it a little bit in the Z. Not too much. Okay. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to take this cylinder, and when I move it, I want to, under the modeling axis here, actually want to move it up. So let's just move it up. Oops. And I want to make this cylinder a bit longer. Okay, and then this one as well. So kind of extend that out. We'll take this cylinder, extend that out so that it sort of penetrates in. So something like that. And then we can go ahead and create some symmetry of that by taking our piston, dropping it under symmetry, and then taking it across Z to create our two pistons here. Now I want to create a little bit of a kind of a baffle or a flexible piece in here. So the first thing that I want to do is to create a kind of holder for it. So I'm going to just grab a circle, take this circle down and change the orientation so it's more upright. Let's turn on ring. Let's go ahead and take the radius down and then the inner radius as well. Okay, so it's more like that. Let's add a little bit of geometry to it. So just drop it into an extrude NURBS. Give it some thickness. Take that circle, move it down into the landing gear. And if we want to rotate it a little bit, we can. Okay, let's go ahead and create another cylinder here. And we'll just move that down into position. Okay, now this cylinder, I want to go to wireframe, or to be able to just see the lines. And let's modify this a bit. So we'll take our height down. I want to give it a lot of divisions along the height. So maybe something like that. Okay, and on the caps, we'll go ahead and leave the caps as is. I'll add one segment to the caps. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this editable. Now if we take a look at this, we'll check just to make sure. You can see that our points on this cap are not merged together. So before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and drop this into a connect object, and then go ahead, make that connect object editable, and now you can see those points are welded or merged. So now what I want to do is go ahead and select loops of polygons. So we'll go to loop selection, select the top loop, and then I'll skip a loop all the way to the bottom. Now let's go ahead and extrude. We'll extrude that out. Let's go ahead and again select now the loops that we didn't select before and do the same extrude. Just like that. Okay, now when we drop this into a HyperNerbs, we're going to get this sort of a flexible connector kind of a shape. Okay, let's go ahead and center our axis, scale it down a little bit, move it down into position inside here. Okay, and now we can add another cylinder on top of this. So let's just grab one of these cylinders. I'm just going to duplicate it, reorient it, change the radius a little bit and the height. So I end up with something like that. Let's duplicate it again. And this time we'll make it a bit skinnier but a bit taller. Bring it up like that. Okay. And I think I want this to sort of butt up against it. So what I can do is take this spline and grab the points back here and just sort of move them back towards this. Give it so it's kind of rolls up against it. Okay. If I want to take some of these other points, so I don't want this to extend so far back, I can kind of pull this back here and add a little bit more shape to it. All right. So don't want to get too complicated back here. I just want a little bit more detail in here so that when we actually see this open, it's not, there's something to look at there. Adds a little bit more realism. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and move on and finish this guy up in the next lesson.